Well, you know, it gets a time out one moment. I got to turn down a volume in my ear here. It's interesting. Refresh me again. Tell me what your question was. I'm sorry, I've got too many things in my ear right now. My apologies.
No, that's fair. I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about the crew's mission and what that spells out for the future of American space travel and the relationship between SpaceX and NASA.
Absolutely. You know, everybody talks about the new era in spaceflight and commercial spaceflight, all of that. But I think really for NASA in the near term, it's being able to deliver astronauts to the International Space Station. They haven't been able to do that without hiring the Russians to carry U.S. astronauts and NASA's partners back and forth, and getting this spacecraft up and running, and hopefully next year Boeing spacecraft, hopefully we'll be able to get Americans back up on U.S. rockets from U.S. soil, and that's a huge step forward for NASA.
You know, Bill, I was lucky enough to be in the audience when the second to last shuttle took off. There's nothing else like that experience. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about what it's like to actually be there?
You mean watching it or riding on it? Watching it is absolutely.
I think watching it is what, but if you can tell me more, go for it.
Right, I wish I could. It's indescribable. You know, the shuttle was just in a class by itself. We're about 3.2 miles from the launch pad, and when the shuttle took off, you literally feel the ground shake from the shock waves from those big solid rocket boosters, and it's just an unforgettable sight. But you know, the SpaceX Falcon 9, it doesn't put on quite the same show the space shuttle did, but it's still pretty exciting. Until you've heard those 9 engines in the first stage roaring at full thrust off that pad, it's an unforgettable sound, and I'm really looking forward, hopefully, to hearing that again today.
Well, I am looking forward to watching it with you. Bill Harwood, thank you.
My pleasure.
Ahead on CBSN, New York City, once the epicenter of the coronavirus, could soon start to reopen. We'll tell you what one of the hardest hit city plans are for reopening safely. Plus, protests are expected to continue across the country over the death of George Floyd. We'll talk to a former prosecutor about if we can expect to see charges for the 3 other officers involved. You're streaming CBSN.
In 60 years, we went from about 100,000 factory workers to probably about 7,000.
Off in the distance, you can see some factories that are still humming, but most of them are just kind of abandoned.
The restaurant industry right now is one of the largest and fastest growing industries in America. And yet it continues to be the absolute lowest paying employer in the United States.
Barely anybody's making enough to live.
You're donating plasma to get by.
It's literally a slave wage.
I don't remember growing up like this. My mom didn't have to go to food banks. It's pretty sad.
How do we put this in perspective about how worried we should be?
We're going to share the newest numbers and critical information on the outbreak.
Vladimir Duthier is tracking the plight of the restaurant business. Vlad?
You've been talking to doctors. What are they saying to you about their experiences?
Doctors and scientists in a race against time to cure coronavirus. Every evening we'll show how close they are, racing to a cure on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell.
These are hard, tiring, taxing jobs, even before coronavirus came.
This is my Clorox wipes, my Lysol. I have no idea what I'm walking into. I don't know if the customers are carriers.
I feel privileged to be out here when so many people are out of work.
Did you ever think that you would find yourselves at the front line?
We have the opportunity to bring something valuable to the community, and that feels good.
We have to be willing to change policy on a permanent basis to recognize and honor these workers.
Doesn't seem like it's worth the risk that you endure every day.
I have to do what I can to take care of myself and my family.
If you had the choice, would you stay home?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh my God, the truck is sinking.
Devastating flooding has reached catastrophic levels.
Rising sea levels are threatening America's coasts. you would have to take that house and put it on stilts 10 feet tall. If the street is filled with salt water, what difference does it make how high you make your house?
The concentration of the highest rental rates is exactly where the elevation is highest.
This was the evidence to prove that climate gentrification was real.
Pay $1,800 in 5 days or you have to leave. Were you scared?
Yes.
Every single person who stood up and said, I am not paying this rent increase, received an eviction.
Haitians built this place and you're getting kicked out.
Yes.
The U.S. hit a grim milestone earlier this week as more than 100,000 Americans have died due to the coronavirus. There have been more than 1.7 million known cases in the United States, and it's not slowing down. Nearly half of the country saw an increase in cases in the past 2 weeks. But it's not all bad news. New York, which has been the epicenter of the pandemic, has seen a steady decrease in the number of new cases. Tom Hansen is there as reopening plans are starting to take shape.
New York's reopening is not without limits. In select upstate regions, offices and hair salons will reopen, but
it's not just open the doors and everybody has a party. It's 50% occupancy in office buildings.
Governor Andrew Cuomo will also let business owners deny entry to anyone not wearing a mask.
That store owner has a right to protect themselves.
Still shut down, New York City is expected to start the first phase of reopening next week.
We're going to be providing face coverings for free for all businesses that need them.
The city's 27,000 restaurants, though, will stay closed. Angelina Malerba owns Angelina's Ristorante.
Give us a little something to start with. You don't give us anything. We don't know June, July, August, when.
With cases on the rise in Los Angeles, barbershops, hair salons, and restaurants can now do business. In Northern California, where the impact of the virus was significantly lower, graduations along with mall shopping are taking place in parking lots.
Also, it's good if you do want your things right away, same day or the next day, so you don't have to wait for it to be shipped.
Even the Grand Canyon opened up to sightseers on its popular South Rim. At the White House, Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx touted progress Friday to business leaders.
New hospitalizations are down month over month by 50%. Mortality, the fatalities that we all grieve, are down significantly week over week.
Though in real numbers, there were more than 139,817 new confirmed cases and 6,000 new deaths this week. And 24 states reported increases in their average new COVID-19 cases compared to 2 weeks ago. Alabama had more than 5,000 new positive cases in the 14-day period ending Thursday. And meat processors continue to report bad news. A Tyson pork plant in Iowa became the latest to halt operations. More than 500 of its 2,500 workers tested positive.
They pretty much feel that this is a death walk into a facility, that they may get the virus, they may die, they may bring it home with them.
More protests and uprisings are expected in Minnesota and across the country this weekend over the death of George Floyd. The 46-year-old died on Memorial Day after a Minneapolis police officer pressed his knee into his neck for more than 8 minutes. The incident was captured on video. It has led to days of demonstrations in cities nationwide. Some have turned violent as people demand justice and accountability in Floyd's death. 4 officers involved in the case were immediately fired from the department. One is now facing criminal charges. I want to bring in Jamila Hodge. She's the director of the Reshaping Prosecution Program at the Vera Institute of Justice. She also worked for more than a decade as an assistant U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C., handling both federal and local cases. Jami, Derek Chauvin, the officer who pressed his knee into Floyd's neck, was arrested and charged with murder and manslaughter on Friday. That's 4 days after the initial incident. Why the delay in arresting officers in situations like these?
So it really, what the Hennepin County attorney shared is this is actually the fastest that they have moved in a case like this before. When we see arrests happen on the street, when we see the crime happen on the street, it's usually the police officers who are making the arrest. And so it gets complicated, you can imagine, when it's the police officers who are conducting the crime. And while this arrest has happened, what I'd really like to talk about is the fact that this arrest, and even if there's a conviction and the county attorney is already talking about additional charges, that is not enough for justice in what we're seeing happen in this country. And while we need to hold police officers accountable, unfortunately, we know that does not solve the systemic issues that keep leading to the death of unarmed Black men and women in this country. And so we're going to have to do something more than just the individual accountability of the officers in cases like George Floyd.
That's right. As you mentioned, this is a systemic problem that is not just located in Minneapolis. Protests against Floyd's death have been happening all across the country. Demonstrations in Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, and dozens of other cities. What about this particular case, or is it just the timing, do you think, that has sparked such outrage with Americans of every color?
I mean, I think that people know these incidents happen more than we brings to the public, more than we see on the news, and that it's when we have an incident so clearly captured on cell phone video, when we see very clearly that this was an 8-minute time period, a very long time period that this officer persisted in this action that killed George Floyd. I think that's part of why the outrage and the unrest that we see now is sparked. But again, I actually think it's because this is unfortunately a long line of what we've been seeing happen in this country. We had Breonna Taylor's unfortunate death in Louisville, Kentucky. We just a few weeks ago finally saw movement after the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, and the list goes on. And people are tired. They are tired of seeing Black men and women killed for very minor infractions, and which is again why I think it's so important that we have to talk about the system that allows law enforcement to continue to interact with Black men and women in this way over such minor things. That we are criminalizing poverty, we are criminalizing public health issues like substance use disorder and mental health issues, and it is that over-criminalization that continues to lead to these interactions and to these deaths. And until we address this problem at a systemic level, unfortunately, we're going to continue to see these deaths happen. And so people are tired. They are ready for change.
I think it's probably worth mentioning as you're making the point that this is a minor infraction, that George Floyd was being accused of forgery at the moment that the police officers took him into custody. Floyd's death has also been compared to that of Eric Gardner, who died during a confrontation with police in New York City. That was almost 6 years ago. He also said the words, "I can't breathe," as officers held him in a chokehold. What are some of the other similarities and differences between these cases?
I mean, you are naming those exact similarities, and I think that is not lost on people. If Eric Garner's life was taken and there were protests and there were calls for change, and people will look at police policies, they'll look at enforcement policies, and sometimes we see changes in those policies, but clearly that's not enough. And so here we have, again, a Black man who really it was a $20 bill that was something very minor that was passed. A Black man who, like so many people in this country, in response to all of the stay-at-home orders for COVID-19, lost his job. And so you can imagine what may have led to the decision to pass a bill, but that can cause loss of life, that can lead to even just the way the police interacted with him that could lead to death, shows the lack of humanity, the lack of justice that Black people face from this system, from our system as a whole every day. So these similarities are not lost, but it also lets us know that the way we have been trying to address these issues is not enough, that the incident by incident approach is not working, and that it's time to do something broader, and that we really truly need to evaluate the system as a whole and how we need to change how we approach and have law enforcement interacting with our men and women that lead to these unfortunate encounters.
And Johnny, as you say, a systematic approach is necessary, and we've been dealing with these issues in the United States for a very long time, the entire history of the country. I recall that there have been efforts to make systematic change following some of these other high-profile incidences, that there has been body cameras in police departments, there has been additional police training, sensitivity training, racial bias understanding training. None of these seem to have made much of a difference, it seems, at least in the mind of many of these protesters and people watching this story play out, it seems, on repeat. So what types of systematic changes do you think are necessary to actually make a difference?
No, that we need to radically change our system. We in this country, the U.S. incarcerates more than any other place on the planet. We have under 5% of the world's population, but nearly 25% of the world's incarcerated population. Our system is significantly too big and must be shrunk, and that's going to require radical change. And some of the work that I do is with prosecutors on how we keep the things out of the system that never should be there in the first place. So much of what cycles through our jails and prisons, and we have 2.2 million people who cycle through our jails and prisons on any given day. So much of that are crimes that have nothing to do with truly presenting a danger to someone or a danger to a community. So much of that are things that have allowed our system to become a backfill for underfunded systems like our healthcare system, like our education system. So we need to radically change what we consider crime in this country. We need to educate ourselves on how our system was even founded. If we truly understood that the founding of our criminal legal system was as a means to exhibit control of those who were formerly enslaved, and if we really go back and learn our history, then it will require something very different of us in trying to respond. It will require us to do more than just tinker around the edges. And while I think things like body-worn camera and having training and really revising policies, they're important. It's because of camera footage that we are able to more readily hold police officers accountable, but that is not enough. We need to make wholesale changes across the system and really reckon with a history that we've never reckoned with in this country.
I want to ask you one more question on the specifics of this case. Can you tell us more about the next steps in the investigation? I'm wondering what's the likelihood that the other 3 officers involved will be arrested and charged as well, and if those decisions will make any impact on how protesters are responding.
No, I think we know from Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman and his most recent press conferences that we do expect to see additional charges with those 3 other officers who are involved. They're clearly captured on video. There was some recent footage released that showed that it was more than just former Officer Chauvin who was pinning George Floyd down. So I believe those charges are coming. I believe with this very clear evidence captured on video camera that we'll see convictions. But unfortunately, I don't believe that's enough. I think that we have seen time over time, we're seeing arrests, we're seeing convictions, but that does not stop this from happening. And I think protesters and those who are standing out and making their voices heard know that this system doesn't offer enough of a response, that we actually need to look at the system itself, which not only allows this to happen, but enables and really promotes the killing of Black men. And until we change the system, these individual cases, and even when we get the convictions, get resolutions, that solution will not be enough.
Jami Hodge, thank you.
Choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Oh boy, it looks good, Wally.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American, standing on the surface of the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Good morning. Apollo 13 will not be landing on the moon.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
There had been an explosion in the service module. The command ship was all but dead.
Today I announce a new plan to explore space and extend a human presence across our solar system.
We will plant the American flag on Mars.
This is a unique moment where all of America can take a moment and look at our country do something stunning again.
You are looking at live pictures of Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Merritt Island, Florida. Weather permitting, history could be made there shortly as the U.S. begins a new era in space exploration. Hi, everyone. I'm Lana Zach. Thanks for joining us on take 2 of this historic day in space travel. We are hopefully just about 40 minutes away from the SpaceX launch of astronauts Robert Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station. If successful, it will be the first time that a private company sends American astronauts into space. The astronauts have been on board the Dragon capsule for a little over an hour now. The hatch has also been closed. Here are some earlier pictures of the 2 leaving NASA's operations and checkout building just before heading to the launch pad. Well, if today feels a little bit like deja vu, that's because it is. You'll recall the original launch for this mission was scrubbed Wednesday afternoon, just minutes before liftoff. I want to head on over to NASA TV to check out what's the very latest on the ground there.
We want to maintain as much flexibility as possible. There could be changing weather conditions that bring down one site and leave the other one up. So we have those 2 identical ships, one in the Atlantic, one in the Gulf of Mexico. And our space operations team can redirect the spacecraft to go to whichever site is the safest option for the crew at that time.
And with the vehicle, in almost any scenario, it sounds like the vehicle will land into the ocean. And it may look like a gentle landing into the ocean, but it's a pretty dynamic event happening. And you mentioned there are teams that are ready to go and rescue the vehicle and the astronauts on board. How do you prepare for something like that, especially with so many different scenarios that could happen?
Sure. So we're lucky to have had about a decade of recovery experience with Cargo Dragon 1 in our previous trips to the International Space Station. That, along with our booster recovery missions, we've got a great team of recovery operators here who have a lot of offshore experience with our spacecraft. The system, though, that we took that experience, we built up a new crew recovery ship, 2 identical crew recovery ships, I should say, which have a lot of those lessons learned baked into the design of that ship and the operations. These new ships have complete medical facilities, an operational helipad, and redundant communications, power, and propulsion to make sure they're robust and ready for anything we encounter offshore. We've also done tons of training exercises with SpaceX team, the NASA team, and the rescue forces I mentioned earlier, practicing capsule recovery, emergency scenarios where we have to get the crew out of the capsule while they're still in the water, as well as those helicopter evacuations, taking off and landing from the pad many times so that we make sure the team is ready to do that. They're all staged and ready. They feel ready to support, and will be ready to call on us if anything goes wrong today.
Awesome. It sounds like Bob and Doug are in some really good hands and will be safe no matter what occurs on the vehicle. So thank you, Nick, for joining us again, for walking us through all of those details. I hope you're just as excited as we are for a launch coming up here very, very shortly now. So we're going to send it over to KSC to Lauren.
Thank you, Jesse. So as you just heard, fueling is about to begin at T-minus 35 minutes. We are about 50 seconds away from that. And so we're getting really, really close to the first launch of astronauts into orbit from American soil since 2011. The launch escape system is armed, which, as you know, happens before fueling. And Dragon propellant load, that's the propellants that are inside of the Dragon capsule, not the rocket. Prop load for Dragon took place weeks ago and just a few miles down the road in what we call Dragonland. And those propellants, they are MMH, or monomethyl hydrazine, which is the fuel that we use. It's hypergolic fuel. and NTO, or nitrogen tetroxide, that's the oxidizer. Those two come together and they ignite in space to propel the vehicle. You don't need that TTEB or a third thing to ignite because hypergolic propellants don't require it. You just need the fuel and the oxidizer. And as you just heard, propellant load has started on Falcon 9, and that's awesome. All right, so that bipropellant system feeds all of the engines on Dragon. So Dragon has 12 service section engines in each, so there's 3 in each quad, 3, 3, 3, and 3. Those are used for on-orbit maneuvering for Dragon. There's also 4 additional Dracos that are underneath the nose cone for large Delta V maneuvers that the vehicle will perform. But the engines that Nick Picone was talking about earlier are Super Draco engines. We have 2 in each quad of the vehicle, so 8 total. And those are bigger engines with a high flow propellant system, and those are what lift Dragon off of Falcon 9 in the unlikely event of emergency that requires us to get off of Dragon, off of Falcon. Now, you probably remember, let's see, Mercury, Apollo, Soyuz, they have that big pointy tower on top. That's the launch escape system.
For more depth on all of this, from Vero Beach, Florida, is retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Scott Kane. Colonel Kane, thanks for joining us. As we've noted, this is the first time that a private company is sending NASA astronauts into space on American soil. Just give us a sense of how significant this feat is.
Well, I think it's incredibly significant because, first of all, we used to be the leaders in space, and we gave up that leadership role 9 years ago when we stopped sending our astronauts from our launch pads. So to take this step gives us the opportunity to take that leadership role back, and that's where we rightfully belong in space, instead of ceding it to the Russians and the Chinese.
Well, NASA began farming out construction of rockets to the private sector. I'm wondering if you believe that private companies are better equipped to deliver on what NASA previously provided.
Well, I think it's a great idea. The beauty of our country is that we capitalize on the innovative spirit and the entrepreneurial spirit of our Americans. The great thing that the government does is it kind of sets the table. And for 50 years, the United States had the table set by NASA, then the military and the government, and they provided the opportunities for our companies and entrepreneurs to learn the way to do things. And the beauty of how we're doing it now is that, from my experience, 30 years in the Air Force, the government isn't necessarily as efficient as the private sector is. And so we've set the table, and now the private sector is going to take the ball and run with it and use the kind of tools they have at their disposal to be a little more efficient, to find innovative ways to do some of the same things, and to be unbounded by government rules and regulations. And not to say that those rules and regulations aren't important. However, the private sector, sees things from a different viewpoint, and I think they're going to do a great job of taking manned spaceflight to the next level by taking the lead in this environment.
Well, let's talk about what that next level might be. I know one of the criticisms of the space program before the shuttle was shut down was that it was essentially just driving the same route back and forth between the International Space Station. Do we think that these private companies are going to deliver on the promise of exploration of Mars, perhaps even that first human who's going to be colonizing Mars?
Well, you never know. If you look back hundreds of years ago, nobody would have ever dreamed that people would have sailed across the ocean to North America. 200 years ago, people wouldn't have dreamed of crossing the mountains to the west coast of the United States. That's what, once again, that entrepreneurial spirit does, is it provides opportunities, and people, particularly in our country, have this great capacity for imagination and dreaming and to get things accomplished that nobody ever thought they would be able to get accomplished. So if I were to use my crystal ball, I would say hold on, because I think that this is this is just the beginning of that opportunity to take man to places beyond the moon. I would not be surprised if we have people living on Mars inside of the next 50 years.
Oh, well, I love the entrepreneurial spirit, the thinking outside the box nature of space explorers. And Colonel, you're a former Air Force pilot with thousands of flight hours under your belt. I see you even have a propeller hanging up behind you. The astronauts flying today are also veteran pilots. How does the training of being a pilot in the Air Force translate into becoming a successful astronaut?
Well, I think that what you learn as being a military pilot is valuable throughout your life, because you learn that, first of all, you can do something that you just dreamed of doing. Most of us that went to pilot training, we just dreamed of the opportunity to fly and fly fast. And we went through some very intense training, and within a year, you are a jet pilot who can go to the speed of sound and do something that you just dreamed about doing a year later. And then you learn a lot of great skills of how to be disciplined about what you do, to have situational awareness of what's going on around you, to follow checklists, but to also be ready for any contingency. And so all of those tools that the pilot learns will be incredibly valuable to take it that next step to the ultimate high ground, which is space, where you have the ultimate situational awareness. You get to see the whole Earth, which, to be honest with you, I wish I had the opportunity to do what those two men are about to do now.
I am with you on wishing and dreaming about that. Closest I ever came was that zero-G flight, the vomit. What do you guys call that? The vomit comet?
Yeah.
But moments of weightlessness, that is impressive. And the idea of being able to see the Earth from afar, I can't even imagine. Let's talk about President Trump's proposed Space Force. Can you give our viewers a little bit more information about this? How could it benefit the safety and security of the United States? And where exactly does that proposal live right now?
Well, obviously, we stood up a Space Force in the last year, so it's moving forward. It's moving forward rapidly. Personally, I've been a proponent of the Space Force since I studied at the School of Advanced Air and Space Studies at Maxwell Air Force Base. I think that the great thing that the president has done is he's unleashed the power of space by giving professional space officers the control of that environment for our country. The problem I believe we have as we move forward in any new realm is that somebody is in charge that doesn't fully understand it. It was the same thing with the Air Force when the Army owned the Army Air Corps. When the Army let go and the Air Force stood up in 1947, that's when we really started moving forward very rapidly and understood fully how to fly, fight, and win in the air realm. Well, we're doing the same thing now by unleashing that opportunity for space officers and space enlisted men and women to be professionals in their arena and to understand the ultimate high ground like nobody else can and be unconstrained by other forces. So I think having a Space Force is a great thing. And I think that over time it will pay huge dividends, not just in the military realm, but in the civilian realm as well, because we will have great understanding of the capabilities and threats and requirements of having a great Space Force.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and watching with us, Colonel Kane. We need to check now back in with NASA TV.
Down with the team at Kennedy. Murray?
All right, thanks, Dan. We are so pumped right now because things have cleared up and it looks like we might actually do this today. If you're just joining us, we are now 25 minutes, 46 seconds and counting from the first launch of astronauts to the International Space Station. from U.S. soil in 9 years. This will mark the beginning of a new era where more people will be able to fly to space than ever before. And we want to share with you the results of a poll we asked a little earlier. If you could go to the moon, now it's not where the astronauts are going today, they're going to the space station, but if you could go to the moon, would you rather visit the South Pole, where no one has been before, or the Apollo 11 landing site? And it was a pretty even split. We had 46% of you say you would go to the moon's South Pole, and 54% of you would go to the Apollo 11 landing site. I kind of side with the Apollo 11 landing site because I'm a history buff and I want to see where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin set foot. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Lauren, which place would you go?
I'm with you on that one. And I would love to go see that flag there and those footsteps, those footprints there. Still be there, right? There's no wind up there.
Should still be there. Leland, how about you?
I think I'm with both of you because it's just like, the meatball, the classic.
Yeah.
Going to the classic spot. And that's where all of it started. That's where all that inspiration came, even though I was an antenna engineer not seeing it. But besides that, that's history.
And hopefully maybe it wouldn't have to be one or the other.
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're going to learn more from going where we've never been before.
Exactly.
And so we need to go to the South Pole too. And we are thrilled to see all of you following along online. Thank you for answering our poll. And we're going to go over to Tahira, who's been monitoring all the action with less than 25 minutes to go. Tahira, I'm sure things are heating up online.
Hey, Marie, I mean, you're completely right. Now that we have that go for launch, people are on the edge of their seat right now, waiting on this historic moment to take flight. As you can see, photos are still coming in of just everyone around the country showing their excitement for this launch. And it's really been a touching thing to see how everyone's kept this excitement going from Wednesday's first attempt. So we just took a look at numbers, and we are now over 3 million people tuning in for this historic launch. And so for me personally, I just want to wish Bob and Doug the best of luck. This will be my own first time watching humans lift off to space from the United States, and it's just going to be a super emotional moment. For that, Marie, back to you at Kennedy for these last minutes before launch.
All right, thanks, Tahira. And Leland, we got 23 minutes and some change to go. What do you think Bob and Doug are feeling right now?
I think, they're very calm, cool, and collected as test pilots, but I think they're thinking about what are the steps that I have to take if a malfunction or something happens. And so the nominal stuff is all kind of automated, but if something happens where they have to intervene with those touchscreens, that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And we're just inside 23 minutes now. So on Wednesday, we were 5 minutes further in the countdown when we heard that call to scrub, and the weather was still very touch and go at this point on Wednesday. But today, it at least for right now, I don't want to jinx it. I'm afraid to even say it out loud, but it looks better today.
Yeah, and it feels like, whew, I'm feeling it a lot more than I did on Wednesday.
Right.
And, speaking of Bob and Doug and them being really calm and cool and collected, haven't had the opportunity to be in meetings with them and to watch them train. I have to say, and to all of my friends who work with them every single day, the feedback is always just what great people they are.
Right.
And just how not just bright and sharp they are, but just good people.
Right.
And around the office, we often refer to them as the dads.
Yeah. The dads?
They're
what is
the
that?
dads. They're dads. They are dads.
Okay.
And we've met their families. And when you see people on that very personal level, it starts to mean so much. They are a part of our team. They're not a customer. They're our team. They're not a payload.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lana Zach. Thank you for being with us. We're less than 20 minutes away from the historic SpaceX launch, and here to discuss it all with me, former NASA astronaut Rex Walheim. Rex, thank you for joining us. If you recall, on Wednesday, the original mission was scrubbed with just 17 minutes to spare. We're now just about 20 minutes away from the scheduled launch. I'm hearing good things coming out of NASA. What are the meteorologists really looking for right now?
Well, there are basically three things they're going to look for. Make sure there's no rain in the area, there's no thunderstorms for electricity and stuff. And then they have to look at the winds, too, because they want to make sure the winds are either light onshore or offshore to push the capsule out if there was a need for a launch abort.
Yeah. Well, I want to also let our viewers know you're not just any old astronaut. You actually were part of the very last shuttle mission that launched from American soil. So as you're watching this historic launch potentially taking place today, how are you feeling?
It's exciting. It brings back a lot of memories. I tell you, you can still feel that excitement and a little bit of nerves as you're watching this, especially when you have friends on board. And one of the crew members, obviously, is Doug Hurley, who I flew with on that last space shuttle mission. So I'm just thinking about them, and I know they're going to have a great flight. And it's really exciting to see this first step into the commercialization of human spaceflight.
Yes, Doug Hurley, I know that you were on that last shuttle mission together. I wonder if you've checked in with your old friend and how it compares to the last time you guys flew together.
Yeah, so I did. I sent him an email, and he said it is a little bit surreal being back there after having flown 9 years ago with us, and I'm sure it's a little different too. You know, obviously a new vehicle, new everything, and the fact that they're flying with just 2 people is different too. He's used to a crew of 4 on the last shuttle flight and 7 on his previous shuttle flight, so it's a little bit different with just 2. But Doug's a seasoned test pilot, and Bob is a flight test engineer. They both got great experience with this. They're living their dream right now, flying the first flight of a new spacecraft. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and they have now boarded the capsule in preparation for launch. Can you tell us what it's like when that hatch finally closes behind you? What are you feeling?
It's a great feeling. You know, you're one step closer, and they close the hatch, and then they say goodbye, and they go away 3 miles away, and you're like, wow, it's just the crew now sitting on top of this rocket, and it's an amazing feeling to think that you're getting really, really close. And then they just heard that the weather is green as of now, and now they're really getting excited, you know, because they only had a 50-50 chance. They never know for sure if this is the launch day, and so they geared up as best they can and hope for the best. And now the vehicle's working well, the weather's working well, the range is clear. They are really excited because this looks like it could be the day.
So I'm told that this is probably the first time on today's journey that the crew members are physically alone together. How might that affect their mentality going into the launch?
They're used to it. You know, they've been flying together in jets together all by themselves. They've been training together, so they're used to it. You get to this point in a training flow, and you can almost tell each other's thoughts. You've heard all your jokes and stuff, so you can probably just tell the punchline. Not even have to tell the joke anymore. So and they enjoy being with each other, and they know how to compensate for each other. You train so much that you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you can compensate for those.
So Rex, as you mentioned, the shuttle flights usually had larger crews. Break down the roles of these 2 astronauts. What are their responsibilities from now until launch, and how does that change after liftoff?
Sure. So on launch, Doug Hurley is the commander, the spacecraft commander, so he'll be in charge. Bob is right there beside him, though, to help him do anything they need to do, run any procedures to make sure they get safely to orbit. Once they get to orbit, they become space station crew members. And Bob has some really good skills as a spacewalker, so it'll actually allow us to do some spacewalks while they're up there, because we have Chris Cassidy up there, and you put Chris Cassidy and Bob Behnken together, and you got a great dream team EVA pair, and they can go off and change some batteries in the space station or do whatever they need to do. And they both can do research and experiments and carry out some of the important work that's going on in the space station.
Well, I'm wondering if the launch goes as planned, how much will they actually be in control of the spacecraft? How much of this is all programmed in for them?
Sure, most of it is automated, and that's one of the special nature of these new commercial crew vehicles we're flying. You know, we have the SpaceX vehicle today, and also Boeing is developing the Starliner vehicle. And both these vehicles are very, very highly automated, and that makes it safer because we have more systems that can check each other and make sure everything's operating properly, and you don't depend on human input when you don't necessarily need it. Now, we can take input if we need to take manual control. So, for instance, on this flight, they can manually dock if they need to, and they're going to actually automatically dock, but they're going to have a test of the manual flying of this vehicle. It is a test flight. So at some point, Bob and Doug will take control of the vehicle and make sure it flies right and see what its handling qualities are like. You know, just do a good flight test of it.
And we always hope that everything goes well, but this is untested, and I shouldn't say untested, but this is really revolutionary technology. So what would be the procedures if something were to go wrong? What procedures are in place to make sure that they get back to ground safely?
Sure. Well, this vehicle, as well as the Boeing vehicle, have a very good safety apparatus called an escape system. So if there was something to happen to the rocket during the launch sequence, the escape system can pull the capsule away from the rocket and they can deploy the parachutes and land in the water, and we can go pick them up and bring them home. That's not something that the Space Shuttle had. The Space Shuttle is an incredible vehicle, had amazing capabilities, but that ability to get off the rocket while it's flying like that is unprecedented compared to the Space Shuttle. Some of the earlier rockets, like Apollo, did that too. Those folks back then were very smart. So the launch escape capability of these new vehicles is a really big safety factor that really helps us have confidence in the vehicle.
Rex, when this mission is all said and done, where will the United States stand in the current space race, and what does this mean for the future of our space program?
It's very important for the future of our space program because the whole onus of getting this commercial crew vehicles off the ground is that it's a way of commercializing it and making it more affordable. The less we can spend on transferring our astronauts to and from the space station, the more we have left over to do the true exploration, which NASA is best at. We want to be able to do the things that private companies can't do yet, like go to the moon, go to Mars. So the savings we are gaining from these commercial crew programs allow us to put that money to the Artemis program, which is going to put the first woman and the next man on the moon by 2024. So we have big things ahead for NASA, and this is the first step in what I think is really a new golden era of space exploration.
Well, you mentioned Mars. Do you think that that's now the new space race?
In a way it is, because that's the next thing. That's where we want to go. You know, we really need to prove our technology by going back to the moon, because it's a lot more difficult to go to Mars than it is to the moon. So we need to make sure all our systems are operating. Going to the moon takes 3 to 5 days. Going to Mars can take 9 months to get there. You may end up staying a year, and you may have 9 months to get back. So you're talking about a 3-year mission. We need to make sure our systems, our spacesuits, our rockets, everything works well before we venture off to Mars.
Well, it is a banner day. I'm wondering if you had one special message to send to the astronauts, what that would be.
Hey, just good luck, soak it all in, and have some fun up there. It really is important. They are the consummate professionals. They know their job. They know exactly what to do. They know how to handle emergencies. So I have absolute confidence in that. So no need to talk about that. Just have a great flight and enjoy it and have a lot of fun.
And then your message to all the future astronauts who are watching now, maybe dreaming of the future of space travel.
Hey, work hard in school and keep after it, because these dreams do come true. I couldn't believe I had a chance to fly in space 3 times. And if I can do it, they can certainly do it.
Well, very exciting stuff. I want to thank you, Rex. I want to also let our viewers know that we are going to continue monitoring this. In just a little bit, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, Mark Strassman in Florida. He'll have a CBS News special report. But if you're just tuning in and thinking maybe this is deja vu, I want to remind you that we are now getting closer to the possible SpaceX launch. So let's head on over to Florida.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Mark Strassman at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We're about to witness the dawn of a new age in spaceflight. This is Launch Pad 39A, just over 3 miles from our CBS position. That Falcon 9 rocket belongs to SpaceX. And for the first time ever, a private company is about to launch people into orbit. 2 astronauts, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, are already strapped into the Crew Dragon capsule. This will be the first human launch into orbit from U.S. soil in almost a decade, since the Space Shuttle fleet was retired in 2011. Right now, we're just under 12 minutes away from launch. You space buffs know this launch pad has made history before. It's where Apollo 11 began its journey to the moon and where dozens of Space Shuttle missions rocketed to the sky. Today's crew is headed to the International Space Station, and underlining the historical significance of this day, President Trump is watching in person. But because of the coronavirus threat, NASA has limited the number of spectators and journalists. It's also encouraged the public to watch on television or online instead of gathering on nearby beaches and causeways. Earlier today, Behnken and Hurley suited up for launch. As you can see, the SpaceX suits are much sleeker and more contemporary looking. Gone are the bulky suits astronauts wore for decades. The 2 astronauts also made the iconic walkout on their pad, on their way to the launch pad. They said goodbye to their wives and kids, a striking image, waving while keeping social distance. Hurley and Benkin then rode to the launch area in a Tesla Model X. It's a bit of marketing by Elon Musk, the founder of both Tesla and SpaceX. Benkin and Hurley have decades of experience. Both joined NASA's astronaut corps in 2000, each married another astronaut from the same class. They both have one young son. They're so close personally, Hurley was the best man at Benkin's wedding. Bob Benkin is 49 years old, a former chief astronaut who flew on 2 space shuttle missions and has gone on 6 spacewalks. Benkin is also a former flight test engineer for the U.S. Air Force. Doug Hurley is 53. He also flew twice on shuttles, including the final shuttle mission on Atlantis in 2011. He's a retired colonel in the Marine Corps, a fighter pilot, and a test pilot. We're now just at exactly 10 minutes away from launch. Hurley and Benkin will be flying on a completely new spacecraft, the first new one since the maiden shuttle flight almost 40 years ago. SpaceX has flown 19 cargo missions to the International Space Station, but this is the first time the company is flying people. The 23-story tall, 2-stage Falcon 9 is partially reusable. At the top is the Crew Dragon capsule and trunk. At the bottom, the first stage fires 9 Merlin engines. They will power the rocket off the launch pad through Earth's dense atmosphere. On the top of the capsule is a nose cone. It will open after reaching orbit, revealing the port that will dock with the International Space Station. And that will happen late tomorrow morning. For the crew's safety, there is an end-to-end onboard abort system. If serious trouble develops at any point from launch to orbit, the system will push the capsule away from the rocket and it will land in the Atlantic Ocean. Bill Harwood is CBS's space consultant. He's covered America's space program for more than 30 years, including 129 space shuttle missions and every SpaceX Falcon 9 launch. Bill, you've been following the countdown for the last few hours. How's it look to you?
It's looking pretty good. You know, the concern all along was the weather. This time of year in Florida, you get these afternoon thunderstorms that build up, and of course, they don't want to launch through electrically charged air. They don't want to trigger lightning. But it's cleared up. It's made a turnaround for us today. The electrical activity's dropped down. The clouds have thinned out. And they're go for launch. We haven't heard of any issues with the rocket itself. Propellant load is starting on time about 35 minutes before launch. That's still in process, but it's wrapping up. So keeping fingers crossed, it's looking pretty good.
So, I mean, we've heard a lot about how this is going to usher in the commercial age of space. But let's talk about what is this mission? What does it mean? Why is it so important to NASA?
Yeah, you know, we've been hearing for days now how important this mission is in terms of opening a new era in commercial space flight and all of that. But for NASA in the near term, the real goal is to be able to launch astronauts to and from the International Space Station without having to pay the Russians more than $90 million a seat. You know, ever since Atlantis took off on its last flight back in 2011, NASA's been forced to hitch rides with the Russians to the space station. That's something they'd like to end. This is a first step in that direction. It's still going to continue for a while longer, but this is going to end NASA's sole reliance on Russia for basic space transportation.
All right, Bill, thanks. We'll check in with you in a second. I spoke also earlier this week with SpaceX founder Elon Musk. He told me today's historic launch brings added pressure for one simple reason. There are lives on the line.
Anything anyone can think of to improve the probability of success and make sure Bob and Doug are safely taken to the space station, that is the absolute priority. In fact, I've told the SpaceX team it is not simply the top priority, it is the only priority.
How does that responsibility weigh on you?
It weighs very heavily. That's really all I can think about right now. I really kind of have to mentally block it, because otherwise it would be emotionally impossible to deal with, frankly.
It's that significant.
Yes.
We want to bring in Garrett Reisman now as we look at President Trump, who's here at Kennedy Space Center. Garrett is a senior advisor for SpaceX. He worked for Elon Musk for 7 years, helping develop the Crew Dragon spacecraft. He's also a former astronaut who flew on 3 different space shuttles. And his first flight was actually with Bob Benkin on Endeavour in 2008. So, Garrett, what makes flying in the Crew Dragon so different from flying in the shuttle?
Well, there's some obvious visible differences. Obviously, the sparkling white spacesuits, the touchscreen displays, and even be able to fly the vehicle using the touchscreen and riding to the launch pad in Teslas. So those are the obvious things, but I think the more significant difference is what you can't see, which is all the advances we've made in electronics and software, this vehicle is much more automated than the space shuttle was. And really, as soon as the rocket lifts off, it's on its own. It's doing its own thing. There's really only one command that either the crew or the ground could send to the rocket while it's in flight, and that is to tell it to shut down in the event of a launch escape. Otherwise, it does its thing.
I mean, you know Bob Beckett and Doug Hurley so well. I mean, what are these guys like? Why is it so? Why are they a good fit for this particular mission?
Yeah, I think they're, for two extraordinary people, they're some of the most ordinary guys that you'll come across. And I mean that in a very good way. Both Bob and Doug are very capable, but are really easy to get along with and just good people. Bob, I've known for a very long time. And he's a super smart guy. We were classmates together at Caltech, and he's got a PhD. And sometimes we'd be sitting in meetings at SpaceX, and people would be kind of talking down to him about certain technical topics, not thinking he was just a pilot. And they would, and I knew that Bob knew much more than they did, but he would just sit there and he'd just smile. And then Doug is, for a Marine, he's actually a really laid-back guy, and they're both a lot of fun.
And for both of them, as they're in the capsule, strapped in, lying on their back, getting ready for launch, what goes through an astronaut's mind at this point when we're so close to launch?
Well, I'll tell you, as it gets closer, it gets more believable. But up until that point, there's always a doubt in the back of your head about whether or not today is really going to be the day, about whether or not the weather is going to allow you to launch. And so you're wondering about that until you get to the point where now they're arming the launch escape system, they're fueling the rocket, and now it's starting to feel real. But it will really feel real once the engines light up and you get that kick in the pants, and then today's the day.
Well, this is the second launch attempt of this test flight. Bad weather scrubbed it 3 days ago on Wednesday afternoon with just under 17 minutes until launch. CBS News meteorologist and climate specialist Jeff Buridelli joins us now. Jeff, after all this rough weather, how does it look now for launch?
It is looking better. I mean, just about an hour ago, it did not look good. We had sea breeze thunderstorms, a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy downpours right on top of Cape Canaveral. But now as we look at the radar, things are starting to quiet down and the storms are dispersing to the west and to the south. So a lot of the energy in the atmosphere is now drained. We had storms early enough. It sucked up the energy and now the sun is coming back out, and that is some good news. And as we zoom in, you'll notice in the Melbourne area, there is lightning and thunder. However, that's over 20 miles away from the site of launch. And generally speaking, the criteria, the threshold is around 10 miles. So as long as storms are more than 10 miles away, thunderstorms and lightning is more than 10 miles away, generally we are okay. And right now, as it stands, we're looking good over the next few minutes. It doesn't look like any big thunderstorms are headed that way.
Okay, Jeff, thanks. Today, we will witness several flight milestones as the crew makes their way to orbit when the countdown clock hits 0 in just under 3 minutes. All 9 engines on the Falcon 9 rocket will fire, the liftoff will be underway, and roughly 2 minutes and 45 seconds into flight, those engines shut down and the first stage separates from the rocket. That bottom portion you see on the left side of the screen flips around. And then here's the remarkable breakthrough in technology. The first stage falls back to Earth and lands right side up on a SpaceX drone ship off the coast. It's recovered and reused for future SpaceX flights, and that has revolutionized the business model of space. The second stage continues the climb to orbit, and roughly 12 minutes into flight, the Crew Dragon capsule separates and reaches orbit. It will take about 19 hours to catch up and dock with the International Space Station, which orbits the Earth at 17,000 miles per hour. Put another way, Los Angeles to New York, 10 minutes. That docking is scheduled to happen about 10:27 tomorrow Eastern Time. We are nearing now the liftoff, just a minute 37 away, a minute 36. Bill, we've been talking about this since, 2014 when they created this commercial crew program. Is it hard to believe that we're actually now on the verge of it happening?
I can't tell you how many tests we've covered, how closely we've followed along in the development of the Falcon 9 rocket, but really the Crew Dragon spacecraft we're seeing today. I can believe it because there's been a lot of effort that's gone into it, but at the same time, like Garrett said, it's getting real here pretty quick.
Garrett, getting real, fingers crossed?
It's, you know, we've been working on this for so long. I mean, the beginnings of the commercial cargo program go back to like the Bush administration, and we've been working on this for 10 years, really hard, and now that we finally reached this moment that we're inside 1 minute, it's kind of surreal.
Yeah, Bob Behnken, Doug Hurley strapped into the Crew Dragon capsule. We are now under 45 seconds away from launch. The weather is finally cleared up after being iffy all day long. And now it looks as though all systems seem to be go here at the Kennedy Space Center. And that, of course, is a huge relief to everybody involved. They've been waiting for this moment really for years. This has been years in the planning, years in the developing, and now that moment is finally here. So why don't we pipe down here and just listen to launch control and see how this goes.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
1 Alpha.
Copy, 1 Alpha. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Falcon power and telemetry nominal. M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Past Mexico.
Well, looks like we are on our way. The next big moment is Max Q. Garrett, why don't you explain to us what that is?
So we've actually passed through the period of the maximum aerodynamic pressure where the wind is the strongest. That's a challenging flight regime. And we've passed that hurdle, and the next thing that will be coming up is the shutdown of the 9 engines in the first stage. That'll be very rapidly followed by separation of the stages and ignition of the MVAC vacuum engine, the second stage engine, to take us up into orbit.
See President Trump clapping there. It all seemed to, it looked picture perfect. Was it?
As far everything so far is nominal. It's really looking like a good flight, and you know, we got a ways to go here. So, but so far it was beautiful. It's just like dreamlike to see that thing actually take off.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch it, no matter how many times you've seen it before, and nobody has probably seen it more than Bill. So, Bill, what were your thoughts as it finally lifted off the pad and we're actually in this new space era?
Well, we've seen a lot of Falcon 9s take off, and from that perspective, the launch looked exactly like all the others we've seen. The difference this time is, you know, there are 2 human beings on board, and that gives it a whole different sense of urgency, no question about it. I want to say we're looking at a camera now that's on the rocket itself, looking back at the Earth. You're getting ready to see stage separation, where the first stage will shut down its engines, fall away, and then the flight will continue on the power of the second stage engine.
Falcon stage separation confirmed.
The view you have on the left side of your screen is looking up at the second stage from the first stage, and the view on the right side is actually the view of the second stage engine, which is now lighting up. It'll glow red hot. That's how it actually cools itself down. And that first stage will turn around and come on back, and we'll attempt to land it on a ship.
I mean, we've heard a lot of talk about how this is fully automated. So what is it that the astronauts at this point are responsible for? Are they just along for the ride, or is there something more to it?
At this point, they are monitoring the performance. They're looking at their screens to see if they are heading in the right direction at the right speed. There's really only one command that they can use at this during ascent, and that is there's a big handle right there you see in the left screen in the middle of the 2 of them. If you pull that, it will light up the Super Draco escape system, and you hear them in the background talking about different 2A, 2B. These are different things that the Super Dracos will do if you pull that handle right now, or if it automatically goes right now.
And Mark, just to jump in real quick, these views we're seeing from inside the cockpit, we've never seen live video of U.S. astronauts in a rocket during launch on a U.S. spaceship. The Russians have done this for years, but we've never seen this view for an American launch.
When Garrett mentioned the escape system, let's talk about that a little bit, because that also factored into the weather that we were talking about. It wasn't just weather here on the launch pad, but weather all the way up the East Coast in the Atlantic, really all the way to Ireland, just as a contingency plan. Bill, why don't you explain to folks how exactly that's going to work, and making sure that the astronauts always have a way out if something really should go wrong?
Yeah, so the Spacecraft has Super Draco engines. There are 8 of them in pairs of 2 in these 4 pods. And if the Falcon 9 is having a bad day, they can light up. Now, early on, they would take the trunk with them if that would happen, and the trunk fins would provide stability in the atmosphere. Now, at this point, they would just leave without the trunk, and they can get away from the Falcon 9 very quickly, and in fact have that luxury of that system all the way up to orbit, which is something we didn't have during shuttle.
And depending when it, heaven forbid that it needed to happen, but depending when it happened, they would land somewhere in the Atlantic, and it could go, what, all the way to Ireland, right?
That's correct. So actually, we avoid the North Atlantic on purpose. At first, we will turn back and head to Nova Scotia, basically Halifax, and then once we get a little further along, we actually will speed up with the Super Draco engines and head to Shannon, Ireland. So we will not come down to that nasty North Atlantic.
And Bill, I have to imagine that everybody at this point is just thrilled with how this has all gone so far.
Absolutely, but talking about that crew escape system, the Air Force is still standing by. They have crews stationed in Joint Base Charleston, South Carolina, at nearby Patrick Air Force Base, although they're now beyond the realm where Patrick would come to their aid. But if there was something unexpected that happened that did make them ditch into the ocean, as Garrett said, avoiding the North Atlantic, the rescue crews on base at Charleston would immediately take off and search these guys down and help them out. But so far, an absolutely picture-perfect launch.
Garrett, did you hear anything at all that struck you as, because it's easy to watch and assume everything is going well, but sometimes if you listen with a trained ear to what the launch controller is saying, you pick up little subtle cues that they're worried about something or thinking about something. Was there any sign of anything?
Yeah, no, so far everything seems absolutely perfect. Everything is nominal. I haven't heard anything that is any kind of surprise, which is exactly what you want in these situations. Now, we're coming up only about 2 minutes away from the cutoff of the second stage engine, or SECO, and that would be Bob and Doug getting up into space and being pretty much all the way there. And at the same time, you see on your right of your screen there, that's the first stage of the rocket coming back and heading to land. And that'll happen in pretty quick succession, the landing of the first stage and the cutoff of the engine, and Bob and Doug inserted into the correct orbit with the second stage.
And Bill, is there any way to underestimate the value of this first stage coming back to Earth, landing, and being reusable as it's revolutionized rocketry and revolutionized the business model of space?
Well, it really has, and it's not just SpaceX. They're the ones who pioneered this, but their example has inspired other rocket builders, their competitors both in the U.S. and in Europe and in Russia, to begin designing their own reusable spacecraft just to be able to compete. And I'd like to just point out on the right side of the screen right now, you're seeing 3 of the engines on the first stage firing to slow it back down to plunge back into the thick lower atmosphere so they can line up on the drone ship, whimsically named, Of Course I Still Love You, to come in for a landing. But this is something that has really revolutionized the whole space launch industry, no question about it.
Garrett, you worked for Elon Musk for 7 years. What do you think is going through his mind and his heart right now?
I bet he's feeling kind of like I am. I think I'm doing a good job of not showing it, but we're kind of both nervous wrecks. And I bet he's probably feeling something pretty similar.
Because when I talked to him earlier this week, and we heard from him too, I mean, there's a huge difference in the level of responsibility between flying cargo and flying people, right? He's got 2 lives are on the line, and it's his rocket that's responsible for, and capsule responsible for taking them up and bringing them back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge step up in responsibility and seriousness and consequences of failure. So we're approaching right now the end of the second stage burn. and you hear copy Shannon, that means that they've entered some of the last of those abort modes, but everything is nominal. And hopefully very soon we're going to shut that engine down, and the ascent phase, one of the biggest hurdles of getting into space, will be complete.
What do the astronauts feel when that happens?
They're feeling right now about 4.5 Gs. I think I heard MVAC shut down, so it sounds like we do have a good, successful insertion into orbit. They're feeling 4.5 Gs. It feels like they weigh about 4.5 times as much as they do. And right there at MVAC shutdown, they immediately feel 0 Gs, and they feel weightless.
Dragon copies, nominal orbital insertion.
And we hear nominal orbital insertion, so that's great news. That's what you want to hear.
Yeah, so far it all looks as though it could really not have gone any better. I mean, everybody here has to be thrilled.
Absolutely, and you see there we even landed the first stage, so even that went perfectly. Normally that's a big deal on this particular mission. To me, that's kind of an afterthought. I just like to see Bob and Doug up there.
So let's talk about what the next milestone of the ascent is. First of all, we're going to have the first stage is probably already flipped around and is on its way back.
Oh, it's
almost the way. Oh, it's down. There you go. Yeah, that's right. It's already landed. I can see it now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So what's coming up next is Dragon now will separate from the second stage. It will pull away from the upper stage of that rocket. And then it'll soon after that, it will open up its nose cone. That's this piece right here, and exposing the docking system and also the navigation sensors. And once that's complete, then that starts a slow, roughly 19-hour, slowly creeping up to rendezvous with the space station. And then tomorrow, hopefully we'll see Bob and Doug waving hello from on board the ISS.
You know, this is a test flight, and although everything can be automatic, Benkin and Hurley, as former test pilots, are expected to try out some of the systems just to make sure that everything is working as well as it can. So what exactly will they be doing on their way to the space station by way of testing out various systems that are in the Crew Dragon?
Well, one of the biggest tests that they're going to do is they're going to try some manual flying. Now, normally, Dragon is capable and has. Last year, we actually sent the Dragon all the way up and back down from the space station completely automatically, autonomously. And that's a normal mode of operation. But there is a possibility to take manual control and fly the vehicle manually. And Bob and Doug will test it out as test pilots. They'll get a chance to try that. And they'll be testing out some other systems, including life support systems. And they're gonna sleep. They're actually got 8 hours tonight to go to bed, and so they'll be fresh tomorrow to dock to the space station.
Yeah, in fact, I heard NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine say earlier today one of their most important jobs is to eat and is to sleep, so they're rested in time for the docking to the space station tomorrow morning. We also just heard from President Trump, his reaction to today's launch. He said, "It's incredible. I'm so proud of the people at NASA." And we're almost at the 12-minute mark after launch, when the astronauts will be in orbit.
So we're coming up here, and there it is. There goes Dragon. We have good Dragon separation. And you see the picture there. It looks beautiful of the Dragon trunk pulling away from the second stage. And that's, anytime you have a mechanical event, a separation event, it's something that of special focus, but obviously successful. And next is just a nose cone opening.
We have a few words for you from our Falcon 19.
What a moment.
It's amazing to watch. The next step really is the docking with the International Space Station. That will happen at 10:27 tomorrow morning Eastern Time. The Crew Dragon is built to dock autonomously, as Garrett said, but Benkin and Hurley do have the capability to take over if something goes wrong. Once on board the International Space Station, Hurley and Benkin will join the current crew, American astronaut Chris Cassidy and 2 Russian cosmonauts. Benkin and Hurley will be in space for at least 6 weeks and no longer than 4 months. So it really, any final thoughts, Garrett? How does this compare, for instance, to other space milestones that you've either watched or been part of?
Yeah, I think the obvious comparison is to the first launch of the space shuttle back in 1981. But to me, a lot of what we're doing really harkens back to Apollo. I remember taking Bill Anders, an Apollo 8 astronaut, on a tour of SpaceX, and he remarked at how SpaceX today reminds him so much of what NASA was like during Apollo. And also, you know, back during his flight, Apollo 8, back in 1968, was another difficult time for our country. It was a time of, we were losing a lot of Americans in the Vietnam War. We had racial conflicts and violence, and we had a big division in our society. Obviously, there's echoes to today. When Apollo 8 came back and successfully orbited around the moon, a telegram was sent to the crew saying, "Thank you for saving 1968. Now, I'm not saying that Bob and Doug just saved 2020, okay? And I'm not saying that what we just did is anywhere near as technologically complicated or as impressive as sending 3 men around the moon back in 1968. But I hope if you were like me, and for at least 10 minutes just now, you looked up and saw something exciting, something that gave you hope and a bright view of a future full of wonder. That's the magic of human spaceflight, and I hope you got that out of that today.
Bill?
I'm really struck after watching countless Soyuz launches, Russian launches with American astronauts on board. It is a real treat to watch a U.S. rocket take off from U.S. soil with NASA astronauts on board. It's a great feeling.
Well, today our nation marked a milestone, sending U.S. astronauts back to space from U.S. soil. A private company has now accomplished what, until now, only countries were capable of. Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken have made history as the first crew of a new age. A big thank you to our entire CBS News team and our guests Bill Harwood and Garrett Reisman. Our coverage will continue on our 24-hour streaming network, CBSN. You can watch it also at cbsnews.com or on our CBS News app. There'll be more on your local news and on this CBS station and tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Mark Strassman at Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
For news.
In 60 years, we went from about 100,000 factory workers to probably about 7,000.
Off in the distance, you can see some factories that are still humming, but most of them are just kind of abandoned.
The restaurant industry right now is one of the largest and fastest growing industries in America. And yet it continues to be the absolute lowest paying employer in the United States.
Barely anybody's making enough to live.
You were donating plasma to get by.
It's literally a slave wage.
I don't remember growing up like this. My mom didn't have to go to food banks. It's pretty sad.
Go to the ends of the earth.
Right now.
We got something crazy.
And reach for the stars.
Here we are.
Time.
Yes, it's my comeback.
Hey, this is pretty fun.
But wait, there's more. Experience thought-provoking.
Welcome to the idea of being a human being.
Innovative and truly original reporting.
Look through a telescope and go, wow.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
How do we put this in perspective about how worried we should be?
We're going to share the newest numbers and critical information on the outbreak.
Vladimir Duthier is tracking the plight of the restaurant business. Vlad?
You've been talking to doctors. What are they saying to you about their experiences?
We will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization and redirecting those funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs. The world needs answers from China on the virus. We must have transparency.
Lawmakers and health experts are urging President Trump to rethink his decision to pull funding from the World Health Organization. The White House is blaming the United Nations Global Health Agency for not taking enough action when the world first learned of the coronavirus. The president also accuses the WHO of covering up the threat on China's behalf. The U.S. had been contributing more than $400 million to the group's nearly $5 billion annual budget. Daniel Littman joins me now. He covers the White House for Politico. Daniel, thanks for being with us. The president told the WHO Director General on May 18th that he would make the funding freeze permanent if he didn't see significant changes in a month's time. But it's only been 11 days since then, before Friday's announcement. So what changed between now and then that made President Trump feel like he needed to act right away?
Well, I think China's decision to clamp down on Hong Kong's freedom and liberties, that played an important role in Trump's announcement yesterday. Even though the WHO is not fully a China issue, he is blaming both parties, China and the WHO, for kind of covering up the virus, not taking it seriously enough. Even when, he was calling it a hoax, remember, in February. And in January, he wasn't taking it as seriously as experts thought that he should. And so it's kind of a way to shift blame. And he didn't seem to give the WHO enough time to pursue reforms. So I think he just thought that WHO was not going to actually live up to its promises.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Because it seems like conflating some very different ideas between Hong Kong and China's one country, two systems policy and the World Health Organization and its response to the coronavirus. Why would that prompt President Trump to put those two together and do this and take this action in less time than he had promised the World Health Organization?
Well, sometimes things don't always add up in Trump world, so would not be the first time. But remember, so a few days ago, he announced that he was going to have a press conference on China on Friday. It was not actually a press conference. He didn't take any questions. It was a 5-minute or so statement, and he didn't really attack China too much because he wants to maintain that trade deal that he negotiated with the Chinese. And so I think they just wanted to roll out an announcement that they were going to make anyway in a few weeks. And so they thought that this would be a good time to do that.
Well, Senate Health Committee Chairman Lamar Alexander said he disagreed with the decision. Let's be clear, he is a Tennessee Republican, and he said, quote, "Certainly there needs to be a good hard look at the mistakes the World Health Organization might have made in connection with the coronavirus, but the time to do that is after the crisis has been dealt with, not in the middle of it." So if leaders from the president's own party are against this decision, why is President Trump pushing forward with it so hard?
Well, not everyone in the Republican Party is against decision. So Lamar is one of those outspoken Republicans who sometimes disagrees with the president, but they don't want to get crosswise with Trump. Their voters don't really care about the WHO, and it's kind of a far-off organization. But health experts are saying that this is bad news because if WHO plays an important role in coordinating the virus response, especially trying to find vaccines and therapeutics. And so this could set back the U.S. a little bit. And we also rely on them to track, diseases that are coming out of developing countries. And so this, for the next pandemic, Trump might not even be in office, so he might not care too much. But this could set that back. But remember, Trump is pretty skeptical of international organizations in the first place, and he's withdrawn out of treaties before, and so this is not a huge surprise.
As you know, there is an election going on through all of this, and the president is trying to find ways to revive his favorite talking point, which is the economy. You have some new reporting on why some Democrats are actually worried about the economy. What can you tell us?
So Democrats, economists are looking at the third quarter forecasts for the economy, and they say that the unemployment rate could be sinking pretty good, and also GDP growth could be historic levels because we're going to see a historically bad second quarter because 40 million Americans have lost their jobs, but people are slowly beginning to get back to work. People are going back into their jobs or finding new jobs, at least some of them. And so Democrats are worried that Trump could take credit saying he built up the economy once before, and he's rebuilding it again. And look at all this great data in July, August, September. And so that could hurt Joe Biden's chances. And remember, Trump is still trusted on the economy a little bit more than Joe Biden. And so that is something that the Biden campaign has to keep in mind, because they don't want to be airing ads in September and October talking about a horrible economy if you have job reports that are saying, well, 1 million jobs created in September or October.
Well, we will continue watching all of that. Daniel Littman, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lana Zach. Thank you for joining me to watch history being made today as SpaceX successfully launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Merritt Island, Florida. This is the first time Americans were spacebound from American soil in nearly a decade. The two astronauts, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, are expected to dock at the International Space Station tomorrow. Joining us again from Vero Beach, Florida, is retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Scott Kane. Colonel Kane, now that the mission has launched, what does this mean for the future of the private sector and its involvement with space travel?
Well, Lana, thanks again for having me on. I really, first, I will say I was pretty darn excited to watch that rocket take off. I used to do that as a kid, and I don't know about everybody else, but it made me feel like I was a young kid again. So I think what it does is it gets our country re-excited about space travel and the domain of space. And it gives us something really to be proud of, that we can, all get behind and have an opportunity to do something new again. So I think it's just it's starting over for America, and it's a great start.
Well, watching these images, I remarked out loud to myself in my home studio, humans did this, because for a layperson like me, it is just breathtaking. What did you think as you witnessed this launch?
Well, I'm like everybody else. I just am really excited to see that happen. As you know, we always think about what made that happen. How could humans make that happen? And it just points out how great the human spirit is, how innovative we all are. We have a chance to do something, we're going to take that chance and really succeed. It's just an incredible feeling to see us do something that doesn't even look possible and then to achieve it.
Well, much has been made about the comparison between the Apollo missions and this SpaceX launch. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more about that?
Well, yes. To me, the big similarity between the two is that we were leading the way, and the Kennedy administration put that as a priority, that we would lead into space and go to the moon, and President Trump put it as a priority that the United States would lead once again in an endeavor. And what are we leading in? We're leading in allowing the free market to build a spacecraft to lead the charge. And so now we're giving private sector and industry a chance to excel in this environment. And they are really excelling. You just look at the spacecraft, you look at the spacesuits, everything about it looks, cool. It's and that's what people are, I think, excited about, is that it gives it that feeling of, we are 21st century Americans leading the charge.
Well, let's talk about those sleek new spacesuits. You couldn't help but notice how very different the astronauts look today compared to our image in our minds of what astronauts in the past have looked like. Tell us a little bit more about what's changed in these spacesuits.
Well, I wish I was an expert and got to put one of those suits on and jump in that spacecraft. But the technology is in the military, for example, the technology would move very rapidly, but sometimes because of our acquisition processes, that we were labored to keep up with technology. And so what we've done now is that we've allowed industry to do really cool things, like use gloves that can touch screens and interact like you do at your home with your iPad. or through your computer. So the really neat thing about this is that the industry is right there with the technology as it's moving forward, and so those suits are what you would expect of somebody in the early 21st century, not somebody laboring back in the 1960s or 70s.
Well, it really is a bold new day in space travel and in science and technology and in the American spirit. So thank you for joining us. Retired Air Force Colonel Scott Kane.
Thank you, Lana. I appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break now to catch our breath after all this excitement, but there's still a lot of news ahead. So stick with us. You're streaming CBSN, CBS News, always on.
In 60 years, we went from about 100,000 factory workers to probably about 7,000.
Off in the distance, you can see some factories that are still humming, but most of them are just kind of abandoned.
The restaurant industry right now is one of the largest and fastest growing industries in America. And yet it continues to be the absolute lowest paying employer in the United States.
Barely anybody's making enough to live.
You're donating plasma to get by.
It's literally a slave wage.
I don't remember growing up like this. My mom didn't have to go to food banks. It's pretty sad.
Go to the ends of the earth.
Right now.
We got something crazy.
Boom.
And reach for the stars.
Here we are.
Time.
Yes, it's my comeback.
Hey, this is pretty fun.
But wait, there's more.
Experience thought-provoking,
I'm open to the idea of being a human being.
innovative, and truly original reporting.
Look through a telescope and go, wow.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
How do we put this in perspective about how worried we should be?
We're going to share the newest numbers and critical information on the outbreak.
Vladimir Duthier is tracking the plight of the restaurant business. Vlad?
You've been talking to doctors. What are they saying to you about their experiences?
You can watch CBSN Bay Area 24/7. It's easy to find us and it's free. One way to watch us is on our website. Go to kpix.com and you'll be instantly connected to CBSN Bay Area. You can also watch by downloading the free CBS News app. At the bottom of the screen is a live button. And here we are, CBSN Bay Area. We're also available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, and Xbox One. Join us.
With new information by the hour,
Governor Charlie Baker has declared
it's never been more important to stay up to date.
You want to keep people safe. And
so wherever you are, whatever time of day, CBSN Boston is here for you.
I want to bring you some breaking news right now.
Boston's only 24/7 live streaming news service from the trusted local journalists at WBZ.
With me is Dr. Malika Marshall.
Watch anytime for free on CBSBoston.com or download the CBS News app. CBSN Boston, always on, always here for you.
Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley are now on their way to the International Space Station. They're expected to dock there tomorrow. So I want to bring back in our own NASA astronaut, Rex Wilhelm. Rex, thanks for joining us again. So tell me, first of all, your impression as you watched the launch today.
It was flawless. It was so exciting to see. It just, it was absolutely amazing. Beautiful launch. The views were great. Things we haven't seen before, like live in cockpit video. And it was just really neat to see how the weather cleared enough drama there to keep your pulse going a little high. And it's always a little scary watching your friends launch, but it was just awesome to see. And I'm so excited that now we've entered this era where our commercial partners can bring our astronauts to the space station.
And with this new era is new technology. Stage 1 of the rocket is being retrieved to actually be reused. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about how much this is a game changer.
Yeah, I think that really is because, they've been doing that on some of their other launches. So we've seen them land these rocket first stages before, but it never gets old. I mean, it is just really amazing. And the fact that they can, have that vehicle to fly again obviously brings down the economies of scale, allows it to be much more affordable to fly in space. So that's important. But they also get to look at the vehicle and see how it did. And I think there's a great element of being able to learn about space flight by looking at return space hardware. If you drop that first stage into the ocean, you never get to see it again. You may never know that there were some incipient failures you didn't know about that you need to improve on. And so now they can look at it, and they've been doing that for their commercial or cargo flights too. So it's not the first time they do it, but they can do it routinely now, which is very, very important.
Well, I've heard that one of the most important jobs for Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to do is to sleep so that they're well rested for tomorrow's docking maneuvers. I'm wondering, with so much adrenaline pulsing through you, how difficult is it to actually get those 8 hours of sleep?
Very difficult. Some people are good at it, but I wasn't necessarily. It took me a little bit of a time to get used to being in space, and so it wasn't. It's not necessarily easy because you're thinking about the crazy things you just did, and you're thinking about the crazy things you do the next day, and so it's hard to turn the mind off. But with a little bit of rest and just maybe not getting 8 hours sleep, but you'll get some rest, and that'll help a lot.
So what are the next steps as the crew heads towards the International Space Station?
Well, the next big step is, obviously docking with the space station, but that'll be tomorrow morning. So they'll just, get out of their suits and get into some more comfortable clothes and configure the cockpit for orbit. And then, again, try to get some sleep. But this is an automated vehicle, too, and there'll be some of these rendezvous burns that'll happen when they're supposed to be sleeping. So I'll be very interested in hearing when they come back, hey, did those burns wake you up? And it'll be when the jets are firing to maneuver the spacecraft. Because I remember feeling little jet burns when I was on the space shuttle. It was like, what was that? Even if they were tiny ones, it would kind of jolt you a little bit until you hit your sleep restraint. It's like, that seems funny, but you can get used to it, hopefully.
And they're weightless now. That's right?
Yeah, I can see. I was kind of interested in watching Doug kind of, kick his legs a little bit. It's like, ooh, hey, we're back in 0G. It's a great feeling. It is a little bit odd at first. You gotta take the first couple of days a little slow. Even if you've been there before, you don't want to start going upside down and doing stuff like that right away, because that'll throw off your visual picture, and your vestibular system will get a little bit out of whack, and that can make you sick pretty quick. So they're going to take it a little bit easy, but they're going to enjoy being in 0G again.
Now, are they out of the woods? Are they in safe territory now that the launch has successfully transpired?
Yeah, much, much safer. I mean, orders of magnitude, because, it is obviously one of the most dangerous parts. The launch and the landing obviously are the most critical parts of the mission, followed by docking. But they'll be able to, docking happens a little more slowly, so you can kind of see how it's going. And if you have to back out and try again, you can. So there's second chances in docking, but there's really no second chances in launch and landing.
So inspiring. Rex Walheim, thank you for being with us for this historic event. I'm Lana Zach. You're streaming CBSN, CBS News, always on. Saturday Stories is coming up next.
In 60 years, we went from about 100,000 factory workers to probably about 7,000.
Off in the distance, you can see some factories that are still humming, but most of them are just kind of abandoned.
The restaurant industry right now is one of the largest and fastest growing industries in America. And yet it continues to be the absolute lowest paying employer in the United States.
Barely anybody's making enough to live.
You're donating plasma to get by.
It's literally a slave wage.
I don't remember growing up like this. My mom didn't have to go to food banks. It's pretty sad.
Go to the ends of the earth.
Right now.
We got something crazy.
And reach for the stars.
Here we are.
Time.
Yes, it's my comeback.
Hey, this is pretty fun.
But wait, there's more.
Experience thought-provoking,
I'm open to the idea of being a human being.
innovative, and truly original reporting.
Look through a telescope and go, wow.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
How do we put this in perspective about how worried we should be?
We're going to share the newest numbers and critical information on the outbreak.
Vladimir Duthier is tracking the plight of the restaurant business. Vlad?
You've been talking to doctors. What are they saying to you about their experiences? How do we put this in perspective about how worried we should be?
We're going to share the newest numbers and critical information on the outbreak.
You've been talking to doctors. What are they saying to you about their experiences?
I'm Jeff Glor, co-host of CBS This Morning Saturday. We are revisiting some of our stories that have brought us hope and inspiration from across the world. We begin in Boston, Massachusetts, where city and community leaders are engaged in a bold experiment to use higher education to transform its dangerous neighborhoods. Boston Uncornered recruits the city's youth involved in gangs, even paying them $400 a week to drop their guns and enroll in college. Dana Jacobson tells us more.
33-year-old Antonio Franklin is studying sociology at Boston's Bunker Hill Community College.
How hard has school been for you the last couple of years?
Extremely hard. Juggling school with my family, it's very hard. But when you value something, if you want it that bad, you're gonna push yourself to get to what you want.
Bunker Hill is only 7 miles, but a world away from the Dorchester neighborhood where Franklin grew up. He's there on a scholarship of sorts, part of a program that gives former gang members money to stay in school.
Some people may look at this and they'll say, this was a guy, he was in a gang. Why should we reward him by paying him to go to school now?
I would say that, we're not being paid really to go to school. I appreciate the money. It keeps us from detouring off of our path. It gives us a little bit of help. Getting in this program, it gave me a second chance. It gave me another opportunity to live my life.
Franklin started getting involved with gangs around the age of 13.
What were some of the things that you got involved in?
Well, I got involved with, selling drugs. I got involved with street stuff. I got fights. I've been stabbed, shot 3 times. I've been through a lot.
The game caught up with him in 2007.
A cop was shot. It was my actions that caused the reaction. He was shot by his own partner, and I ended up getting 9 to 10 years for it.
But Franklin's life would change at his sentencing, thanks to what that wounded officer said.
He wanted me to go in there, and he wanted me to change for the betterment of myself. And to hear that coming from a police officer, especially a police officer that was a victim of my actions, it really was a change of heart.
He'd served 10 years. Before his release, he got his GED.
Did you know what would await you when you got out?
No. That's the most scariest thing.
A friend put Franklin in touch with Francisco Datina.
This is my brother, so we help each other out.
Datina is a college readiness advisor. Like Franklin, he's also a former gang member from Dorchester.
My 9th grade teacher told me, he said, by the time you're 18, you're either going to be dead or in jail. At that time, I kind of believed it. I thought that was my path.
Did he say that to you as a warning or out of not believing?
Not believing in me. I just brushed it off and said, oh, whatever. But then when, school wasn't for me no more and I was hanging out on the street, I was stuck in that corner.
One day, a recruiter reached out from the local nonprofit College Bound Dorchester and asked Datina to take some classes.
What did you think when he said that to you?
Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do no classes. I've been through it. School is not for me. And he didn't give up on me. And eventually I said, you know what, I'll try it.
College Bound Dorchester helped Datina get his GED. He's paying them back by helping to recruit others into the program.
I always say it doesn't work the first time. It might not work the second. It might not even work the third time. The key to being a recruiter and doing this work is not giving up. Always go back, try again.
Why don't you give up?
Because someone didn't give up on me. So I'm not going to give up. How are you?
Datina is now one of 15 recruiters who college-bound founder, Mark Culleton, considers core influencers for the organization's 3-year-old program, Boston Uncornered.
The strange thing is that I believe it's gang leaders and only gang leaders that can actually transform communities.
Why is that?
They're so disproportionately powerful, but that power can be harnessed for good.
I think the one unconventional thing that people find is you're going to pay someone who's in a gang, been in a gang, to go to school.
Right. It would be great if everybody could do exactly the right thing all the time. None of us do that. When you offer them a different opportunity and you say, we will invest in you to make different choices, they're desperate to do that. They want a way out. They just need an excuse and an opportunity.
Culleton can relate, having made poor choices as a teenager after his parents' divorce.
I immediately sort of fell off the cliff, started selling drugs, breaking into houses, like just sort of went wild.
Yeah.
And I would get arrested, and my college-educated white mother would come down to the police station and like make the police apologize to me and send me home.
He says the philosophy behind the program, Boston Uncornered, is based on 3 core principles. Hire former gang members.
There's different scholarships out there. We're going to try to get you.
Insist on high expectations from students and invest in their future. In other words,
don't be afraid to put your money where your mouth is, to give these leaders an opportunity to make positive choices. And if you just do those 3 simple things, your city will change.
What did you think when you first heard about it?
I said it's about time.
Boston Police Commissioner William Gross, the first African American to lead his force, sees this as an extension of the department's community policing enacted citywide.
We want to reach the individuals that are having challenges and then help them out. So are you actually paying a gang member, or are you paying a future, right? So you think gangs, right? We pay for the lawyers, incarceration, the upkeep. No. This is an investment into someone's future to change their life for the better, and that'll be a return investment for us, the community.
Like Antonio Franklin, using the investment made in him to lay a foundation for his future and his family's.
You have a 2-year-old.
Yes.
What does this program mean in terms of him and the example you're able to set for him?
A role model. Like it shows that, you know, I don't want my son to look back at my life or Google me and see that, oh, my father was just somebody who was in the streets. I want him to see that my father, you know, he was in the streets, but he came home and he really did good, and not just do good, he did good for the betterment of everybody around him. That's who I want to be.
After the break, we take you to one of the world's largest refugee camps in Jordan. See how some are finding ways to heal from the trauma of being displaced.
Doctors and scientists in a race against time to cure coronavirus. Every evening we'll show how close they are, racing to a cure on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell.
The biggest names in politics.
Whoa, that's news. Do we have the capacity to deal with what is coming?
Face the questions you want answered.
Are you looking at a bailout? Can you walk the American people through what happens next? Are you saying you did not ever hear of such a deal? Do you need to level with the American people?
Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan.
Go to the ends of the earth.
Right now.
We got something crazy.
And reach for the stars.
Here we are.
Time.
Yes, it's my comeback.
Hey, this is pretty fun.
But wait, there's more.
Experience thought-provoking,
Welcome to the idea of being a human being.
innovative, and truly original reporting.
Look through a telescope and go, wow.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
More than 10 million people have been displaced by the Syrian civil war that's been ongoing for 9 years. As a result, millions have experienced psychological trauma. But Michelle Miller was able to witness a special program in Jordan meant to address a crisis in care for these invisible wounds.
This is Market Street here, and it's a rustling, bustling urban center, so to speak.
Absolutely. You can get pretty much anything you need that you would find in Amman or other cities nearby.
But this isn't your average city in the Middle East. It's a center of commerce in one of the world's largest refugee camps, the Zatri camp in Jordan, home to nearly 80,000 Syrians displaced by civil war.
None of us should ever be okay with calling this normal, but it's become an accepted reality for a lot of people.
Mike Nikinchuk has been doing humanitarian work here since 2012. This started as a small collection of tents, but has turned into something more permanent.
I saw that journey of what started out as shock of adjusting to this place, of leaving home, of losing friends, losing family, losing the very sense of identity that was once sacred.
That loss would be difficult for anyone, but perhaps hardest for those with invisible wounds.
Nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, barrel bombs. We've innovated in ways to stress people out, to traumatize people. And in the same way, we have to innovate by understanding science and how we can hack those systems that we already have to heal.
Nikinchuk isn't just an aid worker. He's also a brain scientist.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
He works for Beyond Conflict, a nonprofit that combines behavioral science and humanitarian work. To do that here, Nikinchuk created a self-help tool called the Field Guide for Barefoot Psychologists. Through this story about two displaced Syrian siblings, the guide simplifies brain science and teaches readers coping skills to recover from trauma. So there are emotional, mental processes that have a physical impact on your body.
Absolutely.
That can be addressed.
Absolutely.
Through simple exercises.
Something very simple, using your breath, putting pressure to certain points and joints in your body, activates different aspects of the nervous system, of the endocrine system, whatever it might be. We believe knowledge is power. Let's give knowledge. It's not that hard.
Kafa Awajan is a Syrian refugee living here. She leads field guide sessions to teach mindfulness and to show others that anger and depression are natural responses to the horrors they've experienced. I feel more relaxed, but I don't feel as though I've been through the trauma or stress that you have.
Of course, yes, of course. The body will imply to the brain that I can relax. I can deal with the situation. I'm okay. And we will be able to relax. And at the same time, we will be effective.
These classes have made all the difference for Yasmin Al-Nassan, a mother of 4. Where did you feel the anxiety? Where was it? Identify it. Here. Shuts your throat down. Nightmares about the war made her seek out a psychiatrist at Zatri.
She would give me a medication, like sleeping pills or a sedative. I felt like it was local anesthesia. But what after the local anesthesia? I go back to feeling the same way.
Al-Nassan says what she's learned has driven much of her anxiety away, allowing her to focus on what really matters.
What I want for myself is to be a good mother, to find my way. What I want for my children is to realize the dreams I had for myself.
There's mental health here available to people. How is your program different?
Anyone is willing to read a story. By using story, we're functionally doing group therapy, where you're allowing people who are living in a culture of incredible stigma against mental health an effective out, where you're still talking about things by letting people talk about characters in a story where they're seeing themselves.
Perhaps the field guide's stories hit home because they were co-authored by someone who lived them, Mohammed Kier Mustafa. What can you tell me about how you came here?
It was a nightmare. First, just going from village to village. Then, when things got even worse and the situation became more difficult, there were no options. So we had to come here.
Mustafa put his suffering on the page to improve